Oh, Peter Blake. Oh, you don't know that's Peter Blake. Oh, he jumped off the screen. That's my guy. He's actually my producer. It's his format we're on. So yeah, we're talking about the fact. There he is. You want to talk to Pete? Here, hold on a minute. Well, you interview Pete. He'll interview you. I'll hold this for you.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
What's up, Pete? What's going on?
Welcome to the Sports Web. What do you think about those Tampa Bay Rays this year?
You know, the Rays are very good. We had a little 2-game skid against Oakland, but this last 2 games we've been really good. Taj pitched a good game. Glasnow pitched a great game. Fairbanks today in the ninth, he fucking pitched well. It was very good. It's very good to see him back. Fairbanks for sure. It's really good to see him back.
Well, it is definitely good to see him back. And, of course, we also talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on this show. What do you think about the Buccaneers this year?
I think we're having a really good defense, to be honest with you. I mean, if we get Devin White back, Devin White's doing his thing right now, but who knows what Quan's doing. Is Quan in camp?
No, well, you're thinking of Devin White, not Quan. Quan's no longer with the team, but
he's no longer. He's out, right?
Yeah, he's out. Yes.
All right. Well, we got Devin. I know that Quan was doing his one thing, but we got Devin. We got Levante. We got who's that dude we just drafted next to Vita Vea?
Kalijah Cansey.
Correct. He's a good player. He's going to take a lot of pressure off of Vita Vea in the front. You know. I think Vita Vea is going to thrive off of that.
Well, you
think?
So how many wins this year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? You would say?
Am I going to be the homebody or am I going to be the logical body?
Be whatever you want to be.
All right, the homer in me say we're going to win. We're going to win 11. Mm-hmm. But the logical brain that I have, it's not really that good. But I say the logical, we win 8.
Okay.
I think 8 might win the division.
All right, man. Thanks a lot for being on the Sports Web.
8 or 9.
8 or 9. All right, good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so have fun.
What?
So I did call it the Fan Boy podcast, and Chris is going to watch this. Go ahead and tell me, what is Chris Mathis doing to you?
Chris Mathis, I don't know you personally, but I listen to you, and I think you're a very good talk host radio, and I like to listen to you, Chris. You're very good. I listen to 620 a lot, and I miss a homer. It's good to be on the podcast.
All right, man. Thanks a lot for being on the Evolution of Sports Talk.
Yeah, you're a goat. Bye.
Brother, anytime you're out here, please come by. You're always invited.
Jesus Christ. Pete, how bad is it? How good is it when that's the Tampa Bay vibe? That's what you get down here. Guys coming on here knowing more. Pete Fairbanks back in the fold. The Rays get that win today. How awesome is that? It's crazy. I love it.
It is crazy, and it looks like there's a lot of things going on down there right now. So I don't do it.
Yeah, okay. I won't.
Just turn down your volume just a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. But so I'll turn my volume down. But Pete, let me ask you, and I want to make sure I can hear you.
Yes.
I was talking about we go back to 2020, and I was just making a comment. I wasn't putting down what they were doing over at WDAE, but I was saying that it seemed like the local, because this gave you and I, it gave us our in. We were the only ones doing the pre, post, the half, and post-game show for the Buccaneers in 2020. We were learning. I was getting my AA sitting next to you, of course, the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. I had the ability. I had the theater background. I had the camera work. But you showed me how to cross the T's and dot the I's, and I appreciate it. That's why I love you, brother, and you know that. That's why I'm looking so forward to what we're going to continue doing here moving into the future. But it seemed like local radio got a little lazy. But, man, in the last 12 to 14 months, WDAE, John Lamola, and what they've been doing over there at WDAE, they've really started to lock it down, and they've gotten some really – and a lot of it has to do with the fact that they brought Chris Mathis in here, and I'm not saying he's a response. I'm just saying that his youth and enthusiasm, the Chris Mathis podcast, seemed to give everyone else the creative license to get crazy, kind of like we've been doing here for a few years, you and I are, all right, brother?
Absolutely, completely correct, and they do a great job over there, and hopefully you have them on this show one of these days.
Yes.
He's just having a good time out there right now. So I just want to jump on real quick and see how you were doing, what you thought about the Tampa Bay Rays today winning their 50th, coming back and come back too fast and to salvage that series 4-3.
I'll tell you what, number one, that was important to get yesterday's victory and today's to go 2-2 because you were playing a very inspired Oakland Athletics team. And by the way, now they announced today that the Las Vegas City Council announces they are gonna build that 1.5, or they're at least proposing to build that $1.5 billion stadium with almost $400,000 of taxpayer money. So now it looks like the plan all along, which I think that as a Rays fan, even though it seems to look like it looked like it could happen in St. Pete moving forward, as far as what Mayor Ken Welch and they've done with the Hayes Group, and the Rays are looking to possibly with the redevelopment of the entire Tropicana Field or the old gas plant district. That was one of my biggest worries, was that what Vegas wants, Vegas gets, and I was afraid that the Rays could be a team there. Now, ironically enough, it's not the Rays, but it's going to be the A's. So how important was this series for the Rays to come back? The Rays are still the only team in 2023 that has yet to lose 3 games in a row. And I hope I don't curse them by saying that. I'm not the first one. I'm not the first media, local, let alone national, to say that. But still, think about how big that is. We could talk about all of the records and the offense and all of the home runs. When we talk about the new things with this Rays offense, the attendance and what we're doing here, they're definitely going to set an attendance record in 2023. And we're only a third of the way, just a little over a third of the way through the season. But yet to lose 3 games in a row, that alone, for baseball enthusiasts or baseball, purists, you have to realize that alone, when you're sitting here in the middle of June and you get to lose 3 games in a row, that explains why you're the best team in baseball.
Absolutely. Not only that, you lead Major League Baseball with home runs with 115. You're tied with the Dodgers right now. So that's been amazing in itself. And then on top of it, not only hitting the ball out of the ballpark, but also stealing bases. And I tell you right now, I feel bad for Taj Bradley, because 4 innings today, he was really dominant. He showed you glimpses of why he could be a top prospect and a superstar on this rotation. And then he gets to that 5th inning. He walks 2, gives up a hit, and then basically the day was done for him because he wasn't able. And thank you very much for muting yourself a little bit, because that music is loud out there. We're live here on Couple Ray. Of course, you know what? Somebody is calling in here, so stand by. Hold on a minute. Let me go ahead and produce this on air, as we got a
Love it
coming on. Let me go out to the phone line. Mr. J.C. Allen of Pewter Report, welcome to Cup of Ray on the Sports Web on the PHB Studio Network. How you doing, my friend? Long time no hear.
How we doing, buddy?
Doing good, buddy. Out here with Tampa Bay Ray on the line. We're talking Rays, we're talking Bucks, and, of course, you've been out there at camp. Go ahead and give us the latest, man. Welcome to the Evolution.
Yeah, camp rolls on, competition. The Bucks had 100% participation at camp this week. Everyone showed up, still some guys nursing some injuries. Devin White showed up, was a non-participant there at camp. It's kind of, as Bull said, a continuation of OTAs in the offseason program, what they've been doing. But to have everyone there to get those certain looks in, the defense is going to be a little bit different than we're used to. The offense, as we know, is going to be different. To have guys like Mike Evans there, Ryan Jensen there, and the whole team together for this 3-day stint before they go on their vacations and before training camp starts, which looks like it's going to be late July. It was nice to get everybody in there, build that chemistry, build that camaraderie. As we heard from Bulls early on in the season, that culture is going to be a big thing, changing the culture of the team compared to what it was the last 3 years, to more of his vision of what he wants. And even hearing from Trisha Wirfs, getting rid of some of those Me Too guys and starting to have more of a cohesive team unit. And that starts in the offseason program, starts at OTAs, and continues to build on mandatory minicamp until training camp comes around.
JC, can I ask you, Drake London today has some comments. So Drake London, of course, the fantastic receiver there in Atlanta. They got Kyle Pitts. They got Bijan Robinson. You got the young quarterback there. And so he's talking about the fact that, I'm sorry I'm yelling, but it's so loud out here, how the groove there in Atlanta is changing, under Arthur Smith and all. But you're out there. You're covering the Buccaneers here at our camp. Are we flying below the radar? The national media probably thinks, okay, we gave the Bucs so much love with Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, the Super Bowl 55 champions. Do you sense, with what you're seeing out there at camp, that this Buccaneers team has a large learning curve to go through for the veterans to teach these young guys? Or the young guys falling lock in a step? And is this team going to hit 2023 with the right incentives to play?
I think when you look at it, the national media is definitely, anytime you lose a guy like Tom Brady who brings headlines in, you're going to get a little less attention. Happened with the Patriots. But I think when you look at this team, so much is going to be dependent, obviously, on the quarterback play, whether that's Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. If one of those guys can step up and be a simple game manager, let's say a la Alex Smith with the Chiefs. I think
Good comparison.
The defense is good enough to keep them in games. Remember, last season alone, the Bucs lost numerous games because they couldn't score over 18 points rather.
Right.
If they scored 21 to 23 points in most of their contests, they would have been 11-5. And the games that they did win, the defense is what really kept them in those games. They've won probably 7 out of their 8 wins last year because the defense played lights out. Now, obviously that starts with being a healthy defensive unit. But if you look on the team on the offensive side, the defensive side, there are still a ton of playmakers, future Hall of Famers at core positions. Now they're putting a lot of trust in the league's youngest tight end room. Cade Otton to take that step, Kane Durham to come in as a 5th round pick and be a solid red zone threat. Rashad White to take a huge step. And talking to Dave Canales recently, a little bit of one-on-one time, he is fired up about Rashad White and what his role is going to look like in this offense. But to answer your question, this team does have the ability to, I think, not only compete for an NFC South title, but compete to make a little bit of noise in the playoffs. Now, I'm not talking about Super Bowl or NFC Championship game, but if they can catch fire at the right time, like the Seahawks did last year, I think there's an opportunity. And obviously, quarterback play, again, is going to be the biggest determining factor. You throw in the offensive line as well. You've got a second-year right tackle who played left guard. Didn't play particularly well. Had one outstanding game at right tackle against the Falcons, and what was a meaningless game. You're banking on a rookie to start at right guard and Cody Mock, making that switch from left tackle. Ryan Jensen coming off a devastating injury, even though we saw him play. But I think if you look at this team together, and specifically what Canales is bringing with this offense, it's going to play to the players' strengths, get them out moving more laterally. It's going to be, as Kyle Trask recently just said in his press conference on Tuesday, very unpredictable, which is a change from obviously last year when you knew what was coming on almost every single play, except for that Bengals game in the first half where they really kind of came out unpredictable until they self-imploded in the second half.
JC, can I ask you, though? So Mike Evans makes a statement, of course, that comes out today that he feels like he's never been this open. And we know that in the last couple of years, going back even with Dirk Cotter in the offense under Jameis Winston and before Bruce Arians comes in here, and even with Tom Brady, it felt like, and even going back to Texas, even going back to college, it felt like that Mike Evans was always a 50-50 receiver. But that guy, he showed that he's got the speed to get downfield, and if you play him 50-50, he'll burn you long. Have you been seeing that really? Is Mike Evans going to be a surprise coming out of 2023? We got Chris Godwin. They got Russell Gage. They got all these things going on. They got Rashad White. Is Mike Evans poised to not only have his another 1,000-yard season to put himself in the Hall of Fame, but to be the biggest surprise of the Buccaneers offense in 2023?
Well, I think when you look at Evans, speaking with him, I spoke with him at his gala on Saturday, and he's very excited about the ability to move around more, play in the slot, move from one side to the other, get in motion, and do some things that they haven't really done as much as in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I think Evans is lined for another 1,000-yard season. I mean, look at the quarterbacks he's done it with in the past. It's a motley crew of guys,
right?
Besides Tom Brady. I think if you look last year at that Seattle system, they ran the ball very effectively, but they had a pair of 1,000-yard receivers in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I still see him being able to hit that, especially with the way they're going to utilize him. He's not going to just be that go route receiver, that corner fade receiver. They're going to get him in positions where he's going to have the ability to catch the ball in short intermediate routes and use that size to maybe bully some smaller cornerbacks, get by them and pick up some chunk yardage. But I think if you're really looking at any of the wide receivers in this offense, I think Chris Godwin was tailor-made for this offense.
Mm-hmm.
I know we said that about Bruce Arians too, just because of his size, his ability. You look at the track record of guys in that working out of the slot. But Godwin is truly he's a versatile player who can play outside, play inside. And with his ability, he's one of the best guys run after the catch. I mean, there's just, you look at the stats and he's up there with some of the best guys in the league, Debo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, those guys. And if you look at this offense, where he's coming, what he's coming from, I mentioned those two guys in particular because they come from the Shanahan offense. McVay is a derivative of the Shanahan offense.
Is this still? I'm sorry, Jason. I'm sorry. It's so loud. I think.
I was going to say Canales' offense is going to be a derivative of that Shanahan offense, and with utilizing what he can do, he's in line to get those. If he can, separate and get those run out to the catch, and I think he's in line for a big year. I think he's going to probably have a better year than Mike Evans, but I still think Evans is going to have a very solid year.
All right, we're on with JC Allen of Pewter Report. I'm your host, Peter Blake, here on the Sports Web Couple Ray edition, along with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. You talk about the quarterback competition. What have you seen out there? We've heard various things, if you will, about Kyle Trask struggling with some of the interceptions. I mean, what have you seen overall? I know it's mini camp. I know it's shorts and T-shirts, but at the end of the day, everything counts, especially in this quarterback competition. What have you seen?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're going up against Todd Bowles, and Todd Bowles has been bringing the pressure. He's got some shiny new speed on that defensive side of the ball that he has been utilizing to get after and cause some havoc along that defensive line and throw some different looks at him. So, I mean, same thing with Baker. Baker has struggled as well. They've had their high points, they've had their low points. But, when talking about it, I refer to what Bull said today. You really can't learn anything until the pads come on. They're not, the offensive line is barely blocking. The defensive line is holding back.
Okay.
No one's going full bore, just as much as it is to evaluate these guys when they're in shorts and shells. When the pad goes on, that's really when you see what these guys can do. And I'm excited for that. I think Canales has said it best. He's not going to name a starter right away. Mm-hmm. He's going to let these guys battle out through the training camp. If you look at it, Baker probably has the upper hand just because of his experience as a starter, just because of his pedigree as a number 1 overall draft pick.
Sure.
And just kind of, if you look at Baker's journey too, he went through 5-6 different head coaches and coordinators throughout his time in the NFL over the last 4 years, including 3 in his first 4, really, if you count the interim, 4 in his first 4 years in the NFL. And Kevin Stefanski, which is a derivative of a Shanahan-style offense, he had his best year in 2020 in that season. Brought 11-5 record, brought the Browns to the playoffs. The next year, he plays through injuries in his non-throwing shoulder, gets a knee injury, gets a concussion, and he doesn't have that same level of success. He has the Odell Beckham drama. And then last year was never a good fit with Matt Rule, who's back in the college ranks right now. And it was just a weird quarterback kind of carousel in Carolina last year. You saw him have a little bit more success back in that McVay Shanahan style system with LA. So I think when you look at the competition here, Trask is going to give it all he's got, but he's going to have to fend off Baker pretty strong, and he's going to have to come out and really blow him out of the water, I think, to earn that starting job.
Do you get the sense, and I know Ray wants to have a question because he's definitely wants to see Trask win out this job, but it's kind of loud where he's at right now. But do you get the sense of what Jeff Darlington said with his report that it's Baker Mayfield's job to lose? Do you get that sense being out there? Or once again, do you think this is truly an open quarterback competition between both parties?
I think it's truly an open quarterback competition, but I do think it's Baker's job to lose. He's got that, again, moxie, that swagger to him.
We've heard this throughout the camp, and this is exactly what Jeff Darlington said in his report, less than a couple of days ago, and it's kind of like we've heard this from Bruce Arians. We've heard this from the offensive coaches. We heard this from Dave Canales, how he's raved about it. It's not just all about making the throws.
He's trash talker out there, getting other guys hyped up. Trask is a little more reserved. He's a little more quieter.
Okay.
He's not the rah-rah guy. He's going to lead by example. But the Bucs liked him a lot, and they drafted him in the second round for multiple reasons.
Right.
And if you look at the guys drafted behind him, no one's really stood out in the league behind him. And also, really, if you look at the last year's draft, probably would have been the first quarterback off the board if he went back to school and had another successful season over Kenny Pickett. So there's plenty of talent there. We heard from the front office. He checks up from the neck up. And it's going to be one of these situations where, he's got to clearly head and shoulders beat out Baker Mayfield. If it's close, I think they go with the experience, although it does make some sense in some aspect to maybe go with Trask and then say, okay, we have Baker to lean back on. The other way around might not, might shake his confidence a little bit.
Right.
But like I said, I think Trask needs to really ball out and separate himself from Baker. If it's close, I think they still go with Baker. And remember, this is a team that if Tom Brady retired last year, they would have been in the Baker trade. They would have brought Baker in. They were high on him last year. They're high on him this year. They got him for it.
Well, don't forget the Bucs were also in on Deshaun Watson last year. I mean, for whatever you want to believe on it, I apologize for the noise, but I actually have another question for JC Allen, because JC, thanks for joining us here. It's so special having you, brother, because I was talking about us going back to 2020 and how we covered the Buccaneers. Let me ask you this. Forget about Deshaun Watson 2020 and Baker Mayfield. I think they would have been in sweepstakes. Is Blankenship going to be the Bucs kicker in 2023, or is McLaughlin going to win that? Because Baker Mayfield and Blankenship they go back to Georgia and Oklahoma and the college playoffs there in 2017. Is Blankenship coming in now? Is it also his job to lose or win, or is McLaughlin is his job to win or lose? From what you've seen over there at Bucs camp.
So they clearly liked him. They brought him in Tuesday. They had him in throughout the week, signed him today after camp ended. We figured that would be a situation that was going to happen. The thing about Blankenship and Chase McLaughlin are they're two different kickers, right? Blankenship has been that Ryan Suckup guy. He's been a little bit more automatic from 49 yards in. He hasn't really been a good long ball kicker, only 2 successful kicks over 50 yards, whereas just last year, McLaughlin was 9 for 12 over 50 yards.
Right.
So, it's we've heard Bulls talk about wanting to have a kicker with a stronger leg, and Chase McLaughlin fits that bill. Bulls has raved about Chase McLaughlin so far, but then he also threw the caveat on, most of it was indoors. We'll see when the wind picks up. We'll see outside. So I think at this point, both of these guys are on cheap deals. It's really going to be a competition if Goggles, Blankenship. I always think of Ken Blankenship.
Specs. That's what he said. Respect the
Ken
Specs.
Blankenship
Yes.
from Most Extreme Elimination Challenge.
Yes.
If he can prove that after his offseason surgery that he's got that leg strength to drive the ball deep and can be more automatic with the short distances as well, it could be Blankenship's job. But right now, if I had to put money on who would win the kicking job, I still think I'd lean Chase McLaughlin. But it's going to be close. Both of these guys kicked their entire careers pretty much. Had success in their career kicking indoors.
It's a good problem now.
They'll play indoors, and they have that south end zone that's given kickers a bunch of trouble in the past. So we'll see.
All right, we're on with JC Allen up here to report. It's Cup of Ray on the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Best of the Bay, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, in the loud environment out there right now as we speak. Let me ask you this. They just got done doing restructures on Antoine Winfield Jr. and, of course, Tristan Wirfs, adding voidable years, freeing up $3 million. Do we just think that's for, to sign the rest of the draft picks? Or, like you said, they're so happy with Rashard White, but a lot of fans want them to kick the tires with a Dalvin Cook or an Ezekiel Elliott. Could you see them doing something along those lines?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing about those restructures, because there's really only a few moves they can make. Devin White's one of them. That's not happening. They're not going to extend him or restructure his deal with the current situation. Mike Evans is the big one to watch. I still think he gets an extension at some point this season. They're going to need money to operate during the season and also pay their practice squad. And with the $3 million that they actually just dipped into as well to sign not only Kalijah Kancey and Yaya Diaby, but also to sign Rodrigo Blankenship today, they still need to sign Cody Mock as well. The hang up with Cody Mock is second-round picks. Half of them are unsigned right now because they're vying for more guaranteed money in their contracts. Every year so far, second-round picks have been vying for more guaranteed money in their contracts. So that's the hang up on Cody Mock. Eventually, he'll be signed, and that eats into most of that $3 million that just opened up. But the biggest thing that says to me, by not making those moves with Devin White, not making that move with Mike Evans, certainly not making that move with Shaq Barrett until you see what he looks like coming off that really bad Achilles tear.
Sure.
is that these guys are in their future plans. You're not going to bump out void years if you're not going to sign them long-term deals. So a little wink nod to the future. Expect Tristan Wirfs, expect Antoine Winfield Jr. to be locked up for the foreseeable future with the Buccaneers after the season to long-term contract extensions.
And that's what you would say. Both of those players deserve it at the end of the day, and that's what we're talking about on this show ad nauseum during the postseason, how Devin White is so inconsistent, and you look at the other players here in Antoine Winfield Jr. and, of course, Tristan Wirfs. They're going to get their money when it's time to get their money.
But didn't Devin White have to do what he did, going by the Roquan Smith script from last season? Even though I think Devin's got a bigger heart than Roquan. I think Devin's more committed to this team. I think that's what Levante alluded to this week, is the fact that Devin, he got a little heated. He got a little passionate. I think that Devin White realizes at the end of the day, he puts in a good performance in 2023. He could be a Buccaneer in 2024 with that $100 million contract. That stands to question. But I think he had to go by the Roquan Smith script, and that is to get it out there that he's looking for that big contract, because what's the worst thing that could happen to Devin White? He could play balls out in 2023 and the Bucs could franchise him in 2024. That's not what Devin White wants, is it?
Yeah, I think obviously Devin wants his contract. He wants to be paid. He said it coming out of LSU before the draft that he wants to be that $100 million a year player. I think this is a situation where Levante said it best. These guys are close. We saw recently after, kind of crap hit the fan that he put that tweet out about Levante David.
Are you watching this right now? Are you watching these?
Look at those guns.
Look at these guns.
It's a gun show. It's a gun show. That's all right, bro. Hey, you guys take care, man. Have a great evening.
All right, he put out there that I love you, Levante David tweet, and that was people like, oh, is it cryptic, whatever. But I think when we talked to Levante yesterday, that was him saying, I appreciate the advice you gave me. Emotion, not passion, or passion, not emotion. And, Devin's an outspoken guy. He's a captain for a reason. He's the guy that leads the huddle before games for a reason. He's a team captain for a reason. So, I think obviously it was a learning curve. This is a business. I'm sure he's got people in his ear. This is a business. Loyalty is one thing, but teams aren't loyal to you. We heard Levante David say he learned that this was a business when Peyton Manning was cut from the Broncos, from the Colts and went to the Broncos.
Yeah.
So, it's just one of those things where if he could take it back, I think he would. The fact that it went public. I mean, it didn't go public from him. It was obviously broken by one of the local reporters that cover the Buccaneers here.
Sure.
So, he's got a lot to prove. He's got to prove he could be more consistent. He's got to prove he can be better in coverage. If he wants that $100 million deal, he needs to prove that he can be that type of guy who can be relied upon down in and down out. And not only in 2020, but also in the foreseeable future, because let's face it, Levante maybe has 1 year left after this, maybe 2 years after this. Who knows how long Levante has. And if they're going to pay him $20 million, he's going to need to be that guy. He's going to need
You're
to be
watching
that,
this, right? I'm trying not to watch this, and
I always try not to watch it.
Well, I'm trying not to watch this right now with Ray Kennedy just being a fool right now. No, don't you say anything at this.
Wait, I'm going to run out of battery here. First of all, JC, I tell Pete I love him every show we do. I love you, brother, because what we've done together and what you've meant, and you're one of the guys that made it over the wall here, locking it down with Peter Report. And I love the fact that we can depend on you to come in here. And I better hope, I'm not sure which show on WDAE is going to have you in here this entire 2023 season, but they better be fighting for JC Allen, because whatever show gets you, gets the win, brother. So I appreciate you. Now I'm running out of battery here. So before I get out of here, and I'll let you, Pete, land this show because I'm like 1 minute away, I wanted to explain the reason why I call this the Chris Mathis podcast. Because Chris Mathis came in here, and after COVID, after 2020, we got 2 years removed, and he gave WDAE excuse. He gave John Mamola an excuse to get outside the box, and man, did they do it. And they're locking it down from sun up to sundown, and now even on the weekends with Nick Wise and Chris, who will be filling in tomorrow on the T. Kraz and Ronnie show. So I hope Chris doesn't mind that I call this the Chris Mathis Fan Boy show. I'm a fanboy though, but I've liked that kid because of the Chris Mathis podcast. JC, I love you, brother. Thanks for coming in here. Peter, I love you, brother. Thanks for coming in. I'm getting ready to go dead here, so if you guys will land this thing, I'm going to get off the air. I'm going to go hit that vape, grab another beer, and hit this DJ for a little party music.
All right, Tampa Bay Ray, best of the Bay. Thanks a lot for
Ray.
your time, as always, my friend. And he's out of here. Let's come back here with JC Allen. A little bit of a quieter environment, if you will. Lots of things going on. I always tell him, like, turn down, but it's so loud out there. I guess the poor guy can't hear himself. We're on with JC Allen of Pewter Report. With all that being said,
Ray's he's like a car accident or a train. You just can't help but to look away.
Well, and that's it.
We're just trying to keep him on track.
And Jay Retcher mentioned him like last week, mentioned his show when I was on, and he was saying he reminds me of my guy Ron Diaz, and that's kind of Ray Kennedy, man. I mean, he's flashing his arms and he's talking sports, and he's excited and everything like that. I mean, love it. Love it, man. All right. So with that being said, let's go back to the wide receiving position, because lots of concern for me. I know a lot of Bucs fans out there. Once again, Russell Gage hurt. What do you make of that situation? And has anybody in that, I get it, once again, it's minicamp, has anybody caught your eye out of that wide receiving room?
Yeah, Russell Gage, he was incredibly durable over his first 4 seasons with the Falcons. Obviously, didn't really get that spotlight until Julio left, when he took that next step.
Sure.
And then Calvin Ridley's suspension and the injuries that sidelined him as well. But he only missed 4 games. And last year, hamstring injury sidelined him in camp, lingered into the season, missed a bunch of games, set a new career high in touchdowns, had about just under 500 yards receptions with receiving yards, which isn't bad, terrible from your third wide receiver.
Sure.
You'd like to have him hit that 700 mark, 800 mark if he can. But he needs to get healthy. And that was one of the things that Bull said on his exit press conference before we get back into swing of things here in training camp, was that the guys that are hurt need to get healthy. And that's going to be the biggest thing for him. He's going to need to be healthy. He's going to need to make sure that he's maintaining his body. He's going to have to work on it more so that he doesn't get sidelined in training camp and miss more time. As far as the guys who've shown up, I mean, I've been impressed with most of these receivers. I think Trey Palmer, he's shown that speed to take the top off the defense. He's got to polish up his route running more. Obviously, we got to see what happens when the pads come on, when he's getting knocked off the route, if he can recoup quick enough to get back on the route and get that timing down to be in the right spot where the quarterback's going to throw the ball. I've been impressed with Cade Warner, just catches everything that's thrown his way. I mean, the guy,
it's a good thing.
He finds that open spot, that soft spot. He doesn't have breakaway speed. He's not going to separate from guys with a crazy amount of speed off the line. He doesn't have that quick, short area quickness, but he called himself the smartest wide receiver in the draft. He might just be, because you watch him operate and he just finds these soft spots in the zone, and he's going to be a quarterback's best friend, whether it takes some time on the practice squad before he's on the active roster. But I think he's shown a lot so far. Raheem Jarrett, a lot of people were surprised he went undrafted, me including. He's shown why. He's another guy with speed. He's a little bit more polished of a route runner, and he's got really soft hands. I've been impressed with Tate Barber from TSU, another guy who was undrafted. A lot of people don't know this, but Tate Barber is top 5 and top 10 in receptions and yardage in TCU history. And TCU just put out 3 first-round picks in the last four years. Quentin Johnston being the latest one. They also had multiple second and third rounders as well. So for him to have that type of production there, I've been impressed by him. And really who came on yesterday a lot was Ryan Miller. He played tight end at Furman. And he was an end zone favorite yesterday, caught a bunch of touchdown passes. He's definitely caught the eye. Devin Tompkins as well. He had an outstanding catch today where he went up over the top of Antoine Winfield, and I believe it was D. Delaney in coverage. He's got a 40-inch vertical, and he can show it off. He's also quick and speedy in and out of his breaks. He's only 5'7", though, and that's a big knock on him. Obviously, the incumbent return man. He'll be challenged by Trey Palmer in camp, and the best man who wins that job, I think, will ultimately land on the active roster. Kalen Geiger has kind of been invisible. Haven't really seen too much out of him that really excites me, but he was a fringe guy in the first place anyways. And I think David Moore is just a solid veteran that knows the system. He's got speed too. He's been in the system. Canales was his wide receiver coach in Seattle. I think he's a good bet to make this team too. So I think if you look at the wide receiver room, Evans and Godwin locks. Gage is a lock due to his contract. I think David Moore probably is in that 4th spot. You're talking about Trey Palmer in that 5th spot.
Wow.
And it's really going to come down to do they want another return man? Do they want more speed at that gunner position? I think ultimately it's Raheem Jarrett's job to lose for that 6th spot right now. But a good showing by Cade Warner, a good showing by Devin Tompkins, or I don't think Ryan Miller. I don't think people are going to be clamoring for him on the waiver wire unless he blows up in preseason. I think to be able to sneak him back on the practice squad, probably Kalen Geiger as well, maybe Devin Tompkins. So I think those are your 6 wide receivers that they head into the season with. Obviously, a whole training camp to go. Injuries happen. People can stand out, but I think if you looked at it right now, if I had to make a depth chart, that's who I'd put on this team right now.
Love it. Great stuff from JC Allen of Pewter Report. Go ahead and promote yourself here, and don't be a stranger on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend.
Absolutely. I'll have to get back on next week. I know I take a little bit of a hiatus here, doing some family stuff.
I got it.
Spending some time with the wifey here.
Well, I would too. If I had a wife and kids and family, I wouldn't be on somebody's show who doesn't have a wife and kids and is talking football. I would be with them. Priorities, my friend. We always talk about it here. Happy wife, happy life. That's how it goes.
We just watched Fubar. If you haven't checked out Fubar on Netflix, it was pretty good.
Okay.
But yeah, you guys can find me at Pewter Report. JC Allen NFL is my Twitter handle. PewterReport.com. Pewter Report on Twitter as well. All of our stories, podcasts. Pewter Report TV on YouTube. We just had players back to back 3 weeks in a row.
I know. I watched. You guys did a great job. That was excellent.
We'll have some more players and maybe even some coaches coming up on the podcast while we're in this off-season dead zone until training camp starts back up. That's where you can find me. That's where you can find all my work. That's where you can find all my colleagues' work. Just grinding out stories.
I got to ask you one more final question because everybody goes crazy for the creamsicle, right? And it was announced that they're going to wear it on October 15th versus the Lions, but there is a little caveat to this or something interesting that came out. Levante David says these are not the same uniforms, JC, from 2012. You got any inside information on this at all?
I wish I did. I know Tristan Wirfs was on WDAE yesterday. Jamel was speaking today. They've got sneak peeks. They're all very excited. Jamel Dean's saying this is a jersey swap that will not happen. He's keeping that jersey, and that's going up in his house. So
wow.
The players are really excited about it. Obviously, Bucs fans are very excited about it. I think it will be a new look, maybe a slightly new design to it as well. And we'll see them soon enough as the Bucs, I'm sure, will make an announcement here displaying these jerseys. They need some off-season content just as much as everybody else does. So I'm sure we'll get a sneak peek at them soon before we get them live in person against Detroit in October.
All right. On that note, JC, thanks a lot for your time here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. All right.
Always. Talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. See you later right there. Mr. JC Allen on from didn't expect to go on tonight, but here I am. Here we are. So let's go ahead and fire up the phone lines. If you want to call up, I've seen Curtis before. He wants to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or your Tampa Bay Rays, who, by the way, picked up their 50th win today. Just saying. Pretty good. So the Rays now 50-22, salvaging that series from the Oakland A's, beating them 4-3 today. As we talked about with Tampa Bay, Taj Bradley, 4 innings, very dominant baseball. And then the 5th, it came all undone. The bullpen gave up the lead. They were up 3-0. Oakland tied it up 3-3. And in fact, you get into that 7th inning, and the bullpen did a hell of a job today. And Taylor Walls did a hell of a job today because you get the double play there. No outs, bases loaded. Oakland gets absolutely nothing. And then the very next inning, what happens? Luke Raley, who's been a man on the spot this year with 12 home runs. 12! His career high was 3. I think he had 3 last year. He has 12 this year, and he's one of the 4 players on this team that has 12 home runs, joining Jose Siri, Randy Arozarena, and I'm trying to think of the other player right now. It'll come to me in just a moment. So Arozarena, Siri, him, and then there's another player that's on the tip of my tongue. So I have to go look that up right now. But the Rays go on to win their 50th. in an impressive fashion. I tell you right now, at the end of the day, yes, it is one of the worst baseball teams, but, the Oakland A's were playing momentum baseball at the end of the day. And let me just go ahead and see who this is to make sure. Randy Rosarena. Oh, of course, Aesop Paredes, who I was very critical of that Rays trade with Austin Meadows. Looks pretty good, Rays fans, right now. So I tell you what, let's go out to these comments here. Once again, open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. It's Throat Punch Thursday. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Yes, I was joking about that today with the other job, wanting to punch myself in the throat, or wanting, of course, to punch somebody else in the throat with that first couple hours. But you know what? Still ended on a great note there, being one of the top reps in the company. So all things considered, at this point, everything turned out just fine, but it is a Throat Punch Thursday here on the Evolution. Surprise went live today. Yes. What's going on, Eric? High Cup of Ray. Absolutely amazing. 2020. I mean, I still remember that, and I know Ray wanted to focus on that tonight as all of our lives changed when it came to sports. All of our lives changed and how we watch sports and how we do it, and how radio stations weren't able to talk about sports at the time because sports was shut down, and we had to have something that would take our mind off of the global pandemic. And here you have the Sports Web. We were, doing this, and he was doing his Cup of Ray, and that's what he wanted to focus on tonight. And he said that Scott Van Pelt was talking about that, how there's more podcasts now. That's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. I don't necessarily hate radio stations or TV stations, but I think there's also another avenue you can go, and that's what we do here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Let's go out to Eric. Rays, Bucks, Lightning, amazing 2020 year. Freaking amazing, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Eric says Tom Brady effect 2020. Tim, what's up, bro? I think he's saying, Eric, we are amazing. Fred says Dallas sucks. Eric, going to the boat parade. Rays go to the World Series. Kevin, is he allowed to be drinking on the internet? I have no idea. I'm not his chaperone, but that's what he chooses to do, is have a couple beers. As long as he's not drunk, ranting and raving, I think he'll be okay. We'll talk to management about it. Oh, by the way, I'm management.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that song. Yes, we played the Bucks song there. Boat Parade, here we come. Eric again, song was amazing. Eric again, Boat Parade, here comes for the Rays, LFG. A long way to go, but it definitely looks good for your Tampa Bay Rays. I get it, disappointing, but, you're playing back-to-backs. You're going out to the West Coast. You're facing a hot team like the Oakland A's. It's going to happen. Even with the 19-50 baseball club, it's going to happen. They get paid too. But they're able to salvage that series, take the 2 there, and now you finish out this West Coast trip against the San Diego Padres, of course, going back to 2020 at Petco Park, where the Rays go on that little run there to go to the World Series. So we'll see, Eric. Good comment as always. Here for Ray Kennedy Dancing, I believe that is Miss Taylor Allen. Whoever that is, thanks a lot for commenting.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go out to Knee. Peter Blake, I love you. Love you too, baby. Throat Punch Thursday. Peter H. Blake. Yes, that is Taylor Allen. Thanks a lot for commenting. Christopher Cole. Hey, guys. Harry says Thursday night. Yes, it is a Throat Punch Thursday night. Harry says, Energizer Bunny keeps going and going and going. That's why I love JC Allen. He gives you the information that you want. He gives you all the inside analysis that we ask for here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. James Splash Ludeman says, creamsicle jerseys. Yuck. I know there's a lot of people who feel differently about those jerseys. I don't necessarily have the best memories about them, but I appreciate history. I kind of like the creamsicle, but are there the greatest memories out there? No, because when I watched the Bucks in the 80s and the 90s going all the way back, first, you saw no home games unless the Bears or a great team like, the Giants at the time were coming into town, their opposing fans would sell that out. That's the only way you would be able to see a home game first and foremost, because you had to listen to Gene Deckerhoff, Dave Logan, whomever else was on, usually Gene and Dave Logan. God bless him, rest in peace, and all the great stories. So, that was my introduction to radio in the first place, but they lost a lot of games in those uniforms. It was not great memories. So there's definitely, a difference for me how I feel about it. But at the end of the day, I appreciate the Tampa Bay Buccaneer history. And with, of course, the losing comes the winning. And that's why, as Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans, we appreciate it that much more. That's why, as Tampa Bay sports fans in general, we appreciate it that much more, because it took that much to get there, right? It was a challenge. It wasn't given to us. You're not spending $200-300 million. You're not even spending $100 million. That's why Tampa Bay sports fans appreciate it that much more. That's what I love about Tampa Bay sports fans, and that's why I do this show on a Monday, Wednesday, and also a Thursday night sometimes. And even when you got breaking news, open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, in case you can't get through, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Athletics beat the Braves 2 this year. It's baseball. The Rays are just better. They are. They're absolutely better.
Woo!
I agree with you. And we'll keep you abreast of the situation. We'll try to give you a post-game show every once in a while. It's hard to keep up with everything, with doing a new business and trying to put the foundation into the ground and having co-hosts and having people. But this is the dead season, and this is when you have to focus on baseball at the end of the day. You got the All-Star game just right around the corner. You got an NBA champion in the Denver Nuggets. You've got a Stanley Cup final champion in the Vegas Golden Knights. The Lightning are off. The Bucks are not playing yet. So there's a lot of things to focus. There's not a lot of things to focus on right now. It's just baseball. So we'll go ahead and try to focus on baseball. We'll give you some of the stories that are coming out about your favorite NFL teams, including, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, let's go watch Christopher Cole. Good A's are as good as gone from Oakland. Absolutely. And you look at those comments from the commissioner of baseball, Rob Manfred. I mean, excuse my language, but I feel like he's a cold-hearted son of a bitch. I mean, seriously, that's how I feel about him when he's mentioning a multi-billion-dollar stadium. Like, those people don't understand that. Blue-collar people don't understand that. Sports fans don't understand the business of baseball, and I get it. They may have not had the deal, but Las Vegas had to pay the ownership of the A's only paid $380 million. The other, the community paid for the rest of it. I just don't see that happening in today's game. But Las Vegas is desperate. They got the best deal. Everybody wants to put a sports team right now in Las Vegas, so that's why they had to make the deal in the first place. I just think it's really cold-hearted by the commissioner. I look at those comments today, and I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. And you can see those fans, they want to embrace the A's, but they don't want to embrace the ownership. And they don't feel like the ownership has done enough. Have they come halfway? Have they done enough? I mean, have they had some winning seasons? Yes, but when has that team spent over $100 million? Never. Never. So I can see the fans and the way they're thinking, and I can also see the ownership, more so the fans at the end of the day, because now Oakland is going to lose another professional sports franchise. You already lost the Raiders, and now you're going to lose the A's. So disappointing there, but they're going to go to Vegas, and we'll see how that turns out for Oakland as a city at the end of the day. So another interesting story, and I'll probably wrap it up here because I didn't expect to come on live tonight, but I appreciate you guys tuning in, as always, to the evolution of sports talk television. Also, a couple Ray. We'll have the over-under with Harry, the Greek, who is out there traveling in New Jersey, doing some big things right now, hopefully at the craps table, making lots of money watching this broadcast. But definitely making lots of money.
Here comes the money.
There you go. So the NFL is having trouble with finding somebody who wants to be on Hard Knocks because it is, not the best situation, right? There's distractions to it. And it made me think, the 4 teams that are in contention right now are the Bears, the Commanders, the Jets, and possibly the Lions. And that was the report that came out today from various sources, including the Detroit News, that the NFL has approached the Lions in doing a second consecutive year of Hard Knocks. What would you think of that, fans? Do you watch Hard Knocks? Would you want the Bucs to do Hard Knocks? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. And the reason why you mention this is because the Lions are the team on the spot. I feel like that because, look, they're opening up versus the Chiefs. They nearly made the playoffs last year, only one game away from doing that. And it seems like they're a team that everybody's watching this year, right? And that division as a whole, right? The NFC North is wide open. No more Aaron Rodgers. You got Jordan Love. It's the Jordan Love era with the Green Bay Packers. And you got Justin Fields with the Chicago Bears. And you have the Lions. And you still have the Vikings. They were Kirk Cousins. We'll tell Cameron Jordan that. He had some comments about Kirk Cousins, which we'll get into sometime next week. But it seems like it's wide open for the Lions. Would you be okay with that? Would you be okay with embracing the fact of the Lions going on Hard Knocks? How about the Bucs? Out of those teams that you would be interested in, would it be the Jets? Would it be the Commanders? Would it be the Bears? The Saints are in that conversation. And of course, the qualifications are you can't have a first-year head coach. Those teams do not have a first-year head coach. You didn't make the playoffs. Those teams didn't make the playoffs the last couple years. So they would be in contention. For me, it's easy. It's the New York Jets. That's probably the most interesting story if you want to do a Hard Knocks special on that team. That would be it. Aaron Rodgers, Sauce Gardner. What did it take to get Aaron Rodgers? Can he take me inside of that? What's the mood of the team? What's the chemistry? Because we heard all we heard about Aaron Rodgers is how he was a malcontent, how he was a diva. Can we see some of that? Will we be able to talk to some of those players? Will they be able to take us inside? It's New York. It's the Big Apple, the Jets, all these major expectations in the AFC East. That would be interesting to me. The Commanders, it's a mess. Nobody cares about the Commanders. They're changing ownership. So you really want that? No, I'm not doing that. The Saints, I don't care about the Saints. I hate the Saints. I think every Bucs fan hates the Saints. You want to watch the Saints on Hard Knocks? Not me. Not at all. So, and then the Bears. I think the Bears are very interesting too. And I was putting this out there on Facebook today. What storylines would you focus on if you're a producer for Hard Knocks? What would you focus on? Justin Fields, you get DJ Moore, you spend in free agency. Is that interesting enough? Is that compelling enough for me? I think it could be compelling, but I would still go with the Jets. How about the Bucs? Bucs fans, would you hate the fact that the Bucs were on Hard Knocks? I get it. There's a lot of distractions. There was a lot of distractions there last year. Would you hate that thought? I wouldn't necessarily hate it. The only thing I would hate about it was the distractions. Would it be too much of a distraction? Of course, the storylines are already there, right? We're going to be talking about it in the next couple months. Who's going to be the number one quarterback? Who is going to be the next coming after Tom Brady moves on? Is it going to be Baker Mayfield? Is it going to be Kyle Trask? What about the Devin White situation? Let me go out to my buddy, Mr. Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy. Welcome back to the Evolution / Cup of Ray show here. What's going on, buddy?
We're all part of the evolution, brother, and you know it.
Yes, we are.
I did not realize it was that loud out there. But then that damn again, the brass captain there on Thursday nights, they got a live DJ and he is on stage and he is turning the tables and the party was going. And
Yes.
so I appreciate you jumping in there, and then of course JC Allen coming in. It was like literally icing on the cake. So again, brother, I appreciate you. Always got my back, and you know I got yours. So thanks for coming in tonight. I think we had a good time. I think we covered some things. We talked a little Buccaneer football, and it was good.
We did talk a little Buccaneer football, and I had this question today. I don't know if you saw it on the Facebook page because I post, various questions to try to get people's responses. It helps, the page out. It helps the platform out a little bit with engagement. But there's a report out there that the NFL has approached the Lions in doing 2 consecutive hard knocks. Would you like to see that? And out of the choices besides the Lions, who would you like to see come? Would it be the New York Jets, the Chicago Bears, the Washington Commanders, or the hated New Orleans Saints? Who would you like to see?
Honestly, I'll take Detroit Lions 2 years in a row.
Really?
The team I personally, I like what Campbell's got going on there. I like what's going on, Jared Goff and what the Rams did. They sold their soul. They got Stafford, got a Super Bowl, but I still think Goff's a good quarterback. But I'll tell you what, the one team that I would love to see in Hard Knocks, just because of what the culture he's going to bring to his Broncos, and I'm so glad he's not in New Orleans anymore, it would probably be Sean Payton and those Denver Broncos. That would probably be an interesting a look inside of a team.
But you can't do it. They're disqualified because it's a first-year coach. I mean, to me, the main story would be the New York Jets because of Aaron Rodgers, because it's New York, because there is so much behind it. You can make so many storylines there, not only with Rodgers, but Sauce Gardner, all the expectations, the young players, how are they reacting to A-Rod? I think that would be compelling television. The Commanders, not so much. New ownership, don't care. The Saints, not really, don't really care about them.
Hate them.
So, right. And then the Bears, you could make some argument for them with all the free agency spending and now Justin Fields stepping up and possibly being the next Jalen Hurts. Maybe that's a story at the end of the day, but for me, it's the Jets. And I'll throw this question out at you. Would you object if the NFL selected the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Hard Knocks? Would you hate that idea?
Man, I suddenly think about Chris Baker hugging a tree and the fact that team that year just underachieved. So, all we wanted to see was Deshaun Jackson getting one deep ball from Jameis, and they literally had to go through all of the film on the floor to get one deep route that actually connected.
Well, you remember that whole season had distractions, not only Hard Knocks, but also wasn't Hurricane Irma before the season? Yes, sir.
Yes.
It was. I remember. I was at the radio station.
Now, I could be wrong on this. I make positive predictions. I'm an optimist, not a pessimist, but I can tell you right now, I don't, even with the Robert Saleh on the team the Jets have, with the offense and defensive rookies of the year, with the Jets who are ready to want to just take that next step. Aaron Rodgers is never going to be a Tom Brady. Aaron Rodgers, he can come in and just by the fact that he's one of the greatest passers of all time, can pump up 52 other players, but he's not the leader that Tom Brady was. I think that it would be an interesting storyline. It would be a great preseason of the Jets and how they're acclimating. Is he on ayahuasca? What are the players doing? The New York market. But let's be honest, at the end of the day, I'll be totally shocked if 12 months from now, if the Jets end up being, let alone the AFC representative in a Super Bowl, let alone a Super Bowl champion. What Tom Brady did in the Buccaneers in 2020,
special
during a pandemic, not only special, maybe iconic for all time. And being that we're Bucs fans and it happened with our team, it only makes it that much sweeter, brother. Thanks again for taking over tonight. I love you, brother, and I'll talk to you real soon.
All right, we'll see you. Hey, Saturday, you better be there at the studio, all right?
I'll work it out. I will.
All right, man. Love you, brother.
All right, brother.
Get home
Love
safe.
you.
All right, there you go. Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, all excited as always. So on that note, just throwing out that question. The question is out there on Facebook. We're going to wrap it up here. It's getting late. Congratulations to the Tampa Bay Rays on their win today. First team to 50 wins in Major League Baseball. Amazing in itself. We'll continue with this Bucs talk next week. You never know if something happens, something breaks. Definitely tune in here. Thanks to Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, Best of the Bay. Thanks to JC Allen of a Pewter Report. Like and subscribe to the Sports Web. Give to the Super YouTube chats. Also give to Facebook stars like I Love St. Pete, The Hub, and Amped Up Sports. And do 3 things for me on this Throat Punch Thursday night edition of the Sports Web. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And fans of the sports web and Tampa Bay sports fans out there, it's your time. Have a great Thursday night.